tip on how to control your hips on the backswing. You've got to think about what your hips are doing on the backswing. Most amateurs I see who hit shots do far too much with their legs and hips and get in all kinds of trouble on their backswing because they're just trying to do too much. So I've got two pictures here. Left hand picture got a very classic kind of lateral movement with the hips, where the right hand picture we've got a combination of a very controlled movement hips with the hips on the backswing and then a good lateral to rotational powerful movement on the downswing. So let me just show you the difference and talk about some of the problems it causes. So left hand picture, here we go. If you watch this backswing I make, obviously I'm putting this on so it's slightly caricatured, but this is a common fault that I see in my students every day. You're going to notice as I take the club back, I take my hips back with the club, so they tend to move laterally to the side. So they're moving, as we look on the pitch here, this way to the left, which as I'm hitting is my right. Now that transfers my weight onto my right foot, which is what you'll read books about, that's something you should be doing, and people will speak about moving your weight onto your right foot on the backswing, which is right. It's the correct thing to do, but I've moved my weight outside of my right foot on this backswing, and you don't want to be moving your weight laterally like this. This is going to create a very weak impact position where hitting the ground first is a common fault of this, and you get big heavy slices because you're going to hit very much across the ball, because it promotes such a weak forward movement with your hips. You can see my impact position here because I've moved laterally so much to the left on the backswing. As we're looking at the picture, you can see this big gap between where my left hip started and where it is when it hits the ball. This space here is really, really poor for making a good strike. So if we just rock that one back to the top of the backswing, if you look at the right hand picture where I'm making a much more powerful controlled movement with my hips. Now my hips are turning, so they're still rotating. So my hips are moving around, talking about 30-40 degrees of hip rotation, but they're not moving laterally, they're not swaying from left to right. So you can see the big difference in the way I've loaded my pass. Still moving my weight into my right foot, but I've turned it into my right foot rather than swayed it. Now if you watch what that does to the impact position, it moves the impact much more up to the ball and in front of the ball, and you'll see my left pocket here now is starting to move forward of where it began, before it then starts to turn around itself. So much more powerful weight shift into the ball, which is going to create a much better strike. With an iron, it's going to create more of a descending into the back of the ball strike, which is what you're looking for. It's going to encourage you to get a lot more weight onto the back of the ball, because you can see here all my weight is powering down onto my left foot, so into the ball, through the ball and onto my left foot, which results in a very full follow through with a full transfer. With this one I tend to stay on my back foot and we'll get a very false kind of late transfer of weight. Got to think about what your hips are doing on the backswing if you want to get into a better position on the downswing to connect with the ball. Get out of the habit of swaying your hips. You don't want to move your hips laterally on the backswing. You've got to try and get your hips turning in a more rotational way to give you more control on the backswing. Give that a go, guys. Have a think. Let me know how you get on, and do post comments. I like your comments. Keep them coming.